What does it mean to educate, to teach, to guide, to impart knowledge? Or could it mean something more? Could education be a liberation? A journey not of shaping others, but of helping them discover who they truly are? Throughout history, education has been a process of defining and categorizing, fitting students into predetermined roles and norms. But what if education could be a radical space for self discovery? A place where each identity is not only seen but celebrated. In examining the intersection of LGBTQ and disability identities, Rodriguez points out that individuals who embody multiple marginalized identities often face unique challenges within rigid social and educational systems. These systems, designed around conventional norms, tend to overlook the complex realities of people who don't fit into a single category, compelling them to adapt to environments that aren't structured for their full inclusion. Rodriguez's work reminds us that true inclusivity in education means recognizing and valuing the layered experiences of students beyond binary classifications. Queer theory emphasizes perpetual desires and motions, characterized by becomings, outside belongings, and cruising machines that challenge fixed identity categories. This fluidity aligns with the notion of freeing desire from its location, promoting a constant state of becoming rather than a static self. The inessential nature of identity. Fuss articulates that identity contains the specter of non-identity within it, implying that identity is always intertwined with its opposite, constantly shifting. This means identity is never truly self-contained, leading to a divided subject that challenges rigid essentials views. Identity as relational. Douglas Crimp remarks that identity is always a relation, never simply positivity, emphasizing that identity is formed and maintained through relational dynamics with others and is never fully self-identified. This challenges the binary nature of identity, categorized that often lead to exclusionary practices. Questioning binary construct. Carlson critiques that binary logic that governs identity formation as inadequate, proposing instead a politics of the self that can transcend rigid positional categories of identity. He sees this as essential to a more democratic and inclusive multicultural education. Deconstruction's role in identity. Deconstruction is seen as vital in queer theory, as it reveals that all identity, any sexuality, all presents to self, are equally queer in their undisability. This perspective, attributed to Derrida and expanded upon by Creed, destabilizes norms by presenting identity as a different rather than an self. Let's see how queer theory is integrated in practice. We're going to see a case from Wales, which is a report on transforming sex and relationships education. So, the current issues with this program is the fact that SRE programs in Wales are outdated and focus heavily on biological aspects, neglecting emotions, relationships, and rights. There's a gap between students' lived experiences, including online challenges, and what is taught in schools. SRE schools is often heteronormative, excluding LGBTQ perspectives and lacks inclusivity. Many children and young people with disabilities do not have access to sufficient SRE or resources to seek advice and support. Inconsistency in provision. The lack of statutory requirements has resulted in inconsistent quality of SRE across schools. Nearly half of schools in Wales do not involve students in developing SRE policies, missing critical insights from their experiences. Let's see some statistics and facts. From teachers' preparedness, most teachers have had no specialized training in delivering SRE, with many feeling ill-equipped to handle sensitive topics, which is a current issue of today's world. Bullying and inclusivity. FAIR programs address homophobic, biphobic, and transphobic bullying, leaving LGBTQ students unsupported. Student perspective. Research shows students feel current SRE programs fail to address real world issues like sexism, consent, and abuse. Research gaps. SRE is poorly resourced and given low priority, leading to wide disparities in what students learn and grow. Queer theory challenges the idea of normal itself. It deconstructs the norms society imposes around gender, sexuality, and power, asking who defines normality and why. What if the purpose of education was not to enforce norms, but to disseminate them, creating a world where students can be unapologetically themselves? Who are we educating for, a system or the individual? If we stopped enforcing norms, what kind of learners and citizens would emerge? Queer theory views learning as a continuous journey, an ever-evolving process. Rather than achieving set goals, we are invited to see learning as a path of personal and collective becoming. Queer theory asks educators to consider desire as a force that compels us to acquire knowledge and engage with others. It drives us to know and connect with one another, with ideas, and with the complexity of the unknown and unknowable. To become means to never be complete, to always be transforming. Imagine if our classroom celebrated this openness, allowing each student's journey to unfold in their unique way. What if the purpose of education was not to reach an endpoint, but to honor each step of our personal and intellectual growth? Are we ready to redefine education as a journey not of conformity, but of liberation? So, what might the queer pedagogy look like? Breaking down binaries. Queer pedagogy encourages us to rethink strict categories like male versus female or heterosexual versus homosexual. These binaries often oversimplify human experiences and create hierarchies. Instead of only addressing one issue, queer pedagogy seeks to understand how these categories create and reinforce broader injustices, challenging the idea of the other. Instead of just including LGBTQ plus experiences in education, queer pedagogy focuses on analyzing the systems that label certain people as different. For example, it critiques the way LGBTQ plus figures are sometimes presented as stereotypical role models. Queer pedagogy instead examines why these labels exist and how they create exclusion in the first place. Valuing lived experiences. Queer pedagogy values people's real life experiences over rigid definitions. For example, the lives of transgender or intersex individuals reveal the limitations of traditional gender categories. Queer pedagogy encourages us to learn from these experiences without turning them into spectacles that reinforce normal versus different. Working with and against the system. Queer pedagogy faces the challenge of working within a school system that often supports traditional ideas about gender and sexuality. For example, even textbooks can carry biased messages. Queer pedagogy may need to push boundaries within these systems or even learn from activism that uses humor or parody to challenge the norms. Learning beyond school. Children learn a lot about gender and sexuality outside of school through media and popular culture, which often reinforce stereotypes. Queer pedagogy encourages activities like debate or role-playing that help students critically examine these messages and imagine new possibilities for how they see themselves and others.